I just want to talk to you a little bit, what we talked about earlier, Sherri Papini's prison sentence, where she's headed, what this facility in Victorville is like, and then, why you believe it's unlikely that she serves this full sentence. So starting out, can you describe to me a bit more about this satellite prison camp in Victorville?
Okay, back in the day, the BOP, that's the Federal Bureau of Prisons, they operated what they called FPCs, federal prison camps. They were standalone institutions. Kind of like Martha Stewart went to Alderson, West Virginia. They got one in Bryan, Texas. But it got really, really expensive because they have to maintain medical and food service, psychology, education, and all this. So they started putting women, or not just women, they started putting these camps, calling them satellite federal prison camps, outside the main institutions so they could share an infrastructure. So the Victorville location where Sherri is, I guess she's supposed to go, or she's been designated there, it's minimum security. It's attached to the medium institution. At the medium, people are serving like 20 to life, all right? It's just below high security. Where she's at, it's minimum. There's no fences. They don't lock the doors. They really don't do anything. It's almost like they're warehousing people. She may have some problems there. I'm not joking, with sexual abuse. They had issues with staff members getting inmates pregnant there. Several staff members have been fired there. I mean, it's halfway between LA and Vegas, roughly. It's out in the middle of the desert. It's on the old George Air Force Base. And essentially, the women's camp is there to support the other three institutions. It's called a Federal Correctional Complex. There's a USP, United States Penitentiary, which is high security, and two FCIs, Federal Correctional Institutes, which are medium security. Now, once she hits custody, she's going to go into quarantine probably about 2 weeks because of COVID. Everybody's doing this. Then when she gets out of quarantine, they're going to have to give her a job. She probably, because she's just touching down there, they may send her to food service, cleaning pots and pans. She may be cleaning toilets. She may be raking non-existent leaves, sweeping the compound. Maybe they'll have her doing painting, masonry, concrete, plumbing, because they have all the maintenance trades there. But the bottom line is they're going to treat her like crap because she's like a spoiled, arrogant little girl that's refusing to take responsibility sort of for what she did. And there's women there that are serving a substantial amount of time. A camp is 0 to 10 years. So she's going to rub shoulders with drug dealers, not necessarily violent because it's a camp, but she's going to rub shoulders with people doing a lot of time. And no one is going to want to hear her snivel about her little 18-month sentence. But let's compare this to Elizabeth Holmes, which is getting sentenced, I believe, this Friday. Her lawyers want her to get 18 months. Her sentencing guidelines are off the chart. She's looking at 15 to 20 years, literally. She's going to go to an institution that's an FCI low. It's got 2 fences around it. It's dormitory living. She's going to be kind of hard timing it. Where Sherri's going, her biggest issue probably is going to be avoiding the staff. She's not bad looking. Well, I haven't seen her lately. Avoiding the staff and just doing whatever stupid job they give her. I mean, let's break down a sentence. All right, 18 months. Let's pull some good time off that, good conduct time. Pull 3 months. All right, now she's down to 15 months. Let's give her some community custody time, which is like a halfway house, home confinement. Let's pull another 2 months. Gee, so now we're down to what? 13 months? And then she's going to get program credit for something called the First Step Act, the FSA. Trump signed this into law just around the beginning of, actually a couple years before COVID, not long after he got into office, where it allows the inmates to take educational programs. And by doing that, they can get extra credit. It's kind of like you're going to school, you're getting extra credit. Well, I guess it's the same thing. So she could lose another 2 or 3 months on top of that. So now she's down to what, 11 months, something like that. Then you got the CARES Act. She may get 2-3 months off on that. My guesstimation, and I've been doing this, I served 10 years in federal custody. I was in 11 different prisons. I got hit with narcotics trafficking, securities fraud, racketeering, obstruction of justice, and machine guns. I run Wall Street prison consultants now for men and Pink Lady prison consultants for women. I would bet, based on everything I've seen, based on other clients I have, she'll be out in 9 months. She's not going to spend that whole 18 months there. You know, it's a lot of BS that people have this vision in their head of orange is the new black. It's not really like that. Prison is Groundhog Day. Let's say her day starts at 6 a.m. Lights come on, you know, the compound is open, they're blaring on a loudspeaker. She's got about an hour to go do her business in the bathroom and compete with several hundred other women to make up her bunk, get, you know, hygiene, get her area squared away, and then report to whatever silly job they give her. About 10:30, they're going to do a recall. They're going to bring everybody back because now it's lunchtime. Lunch is early in federal prison because they got a lot of people to feed. So she'll go and do her lunch, and then about, I don't want to say noon, they'll do another recall. Well, they'll call a work call. All the inmates will go to their assigned workstation or work center. They'll be counted, because counting is a big thing about prison, accountability, especially at a camp, because there's walkaways all the time. I used to cheer when people left and escaped. Run, baby, run. Okay, so it's noon. She goes back and doing her job, pots and pans, sweeping up, whatever, emptying trash cans. Probably the toilets are clean by now. I hope so. And then about 3:30, they're going to have another recall. They're going to bring all the inmates back to the dorm. She's not going to be in a cell. She's going to be in what's called a cubicle with bunk beds. She might have 2 bunk beds, 3 bunk beds in her area. So she'll have what's called cubies, not cellies. 4 o'clock rolls around. She and everyone else are going to have to stand next to their bunk. That's what they call the National Stand-Up Lockdown Count, where they're going to have 2 cops, 2 BOP staff members come by and count her. Now, these aren't the brightest people in the world. I mean, a law enforcement academy in the US, I don't know, 6 months, 9 months. The Bureau of Prisons Training Academy is 21 days. So this is, I'm not saying they're stupid, but they have 2 staff members come by because they don't trust 1 staff member. They need to verify it. And this is shift change time. So they need to make sure that the new staff coming on are essentially taking control of the same amount of inmates that were on the last shift. So they count everybody, they make sure they're there. And then when the count clears, maybe 4:30, something like that, 4:45, if they get the count right, they're going to pass out the mail. These people, the cops, the correctional officers, are going to try to read people's names. And again, these people can't spell or read. And everybody, they're going to try to read her, Papini. I don't know, is that how you spell her last name or pronounce it?
You got it right, but people do struggle with it.
Well, and it's really funny because inmates will be shouting to the staff, sound it out, like they're second graders or something. So 4:30 rolls around, I don't know, 4:45, everything's cleared. Now we're going to open up the compound for dinner. It's going to be the evening meal. And after the evening meal, and this is Monday through Friday, because you get weekends off generally. I'm not joking. Okay, so after the evening meal, it's her time. She's going to be on free time. She'll be able to go watch TV, listen to the radio, go to the law library, the leisure library. She can go to recreation, education. She can BS with all the other inmates and listen to everybody's lie, how they're innocent and such. Then about, I want to say 9:30, they're going to do, at 9:30, they're going to do another recall. Everybody comes back to the dorms because now you have the 10 o'clock count. And this is everywhere in the US, the 4 o'clock count, the 10 o'clock count. Remember, this is all based on accountability. So they pull her back into the dorms. You don't have to stand up. And they come by and they count everybody again. About, I don't know, maybe 10:30, quarter to 11, depending if the count clears, they're going to have lights out. Now, at this point, the duty day is over. She can go maybe take a shower if the showers are on. She could go use a telephone to call home. She's going to get 500 minutes a month. The calls are free right now because of COVID. Generally, it's 300 minutes a month, and you got to pay 21 cents a minute. So lights are already out. She's buttoning up her stuff for the day. Then the cops, let's say she's asleep. Everybody's asleep. Cops are going to come by with a flashlight at midnight, 1 a.m., 3 a.m., and 5 a.m. because they're going to count and make sure everybody's there. And it's amusing. It's entertaining. You know the sound of a cell phone when the battery is low and it chirps?
Right.
That you're not supposed to have a cell phone in there, but these women have cell phones. I know this I've got clients there that call me. You know, I could say that because I don't care if they come after me. I'm not the inmate, not anymore at least. If you want to look me up, 11742-112. I'm in the BOP computer. But you can hear these cell phones chirping because people's phones are low. They get caught with those, they're getting extra time. Anyway, now it's morning and the whole cycle just starts over. It's Groundhog Day. On the weekends, as long as she's not, let's say, working in food service or something, that's her time. They'll do the first count at 10 a.m. Then they'll release the inmates for the afternoon meal. I mean, you can get up at 6 a.m. and eat breakfast. Some people do. I don't know if has she put any weight on?
She looks generally the same as she did at the time of the kidnapping.
People lose weight in custody because they're not running to the convenience store, Mickey D's or somewhere all the time. The food is crappy. It is. So 10 o'clock rolls around. We do a count. 10:30 count clears. She goes to the dining hall, gets out for lunch at noon. She's on free time. She can really go do whatever she wants. 3:30, they recall everybody. The 4 o'clock count comes around. They clear the count. She goes to the evening meal and she's on her own time again. Now, some people, I don't know if she's religious or not. Some people like to hang out in the chapel. Okay, they got religious services and such. And when she gets there, I call this the welcome wagon. There's a policy in the Bureau of Prisons that one inmate cannot give another inmate anything of value for any reason whatsoever. But the Christians are going to want to save her. So when she touches down there, they're going to give her shower shoes and deodorant and soap and shampoo, and they're going to want to be her friend because they're there to save her. I've seen this. Remember, I was at 11 different places. I saw this everywhere. They moved me around a lot because they were upset with me helping other inmates get out early, get medical care, get transfers, just stuff. And that's why I kind of started this business. I filed a class action habeas corpus lawsuit against the Justice Department when they illegally moved me and a few hundred inmates to La Tuna FCI in El Paso, Texas. They took us outside our custody level and our security level and said, you people are stuck here. You don't like it, go ahead and sue us. So several hundred inmates turned around in a town hall meeting and looked at me. And I just smiled. And a month later, oh, here's your 97-page class action lawsuit, which really pissed them off. So I got all these people moved. And this is why they wanted to release me 6 months early, just to get rid of me. And I refused to leave. Said, I'm not leaving, I'm staying. And I am going to do things to you people right to the last minute. And I'm going to tell you step by step how I'm doing it. And there's nothing at all you can do to stop me. And essentially, that's why I started this business, to help out inmates and their families, to coach them on what to expect. I have women that work with me that have done time at institutions all over the country, all camps. But we're here to help people. If Sherri was with me right now, a piece of advice that I would give her, don't moan about your sentence because nobody cares. Don't get involved in drama. Don't get involved in politics. Do your own time. Don't do somebody else's time. And show respect, the ultimate respect. Don't cut in any food lines. Don't cut in the phone line. Certainly don't change the channel on the TV. I was at a facility in Phoenix, Arizona. I was in a TV room. I mean, this was a higher level institution. So I was watching TV. I'd only been there a few weeks at this particular place. And there's a group of people there. We're watching TV. And I thought, well, I'm going to go back to my bunk. This was on a weekend. I knew count was coming up. About 10 minutes after I leave that TV room, they locked the compound down and they did a recall back to the cells. And a guy that I had just met that I was talking to in there, he had the audacity to change the channel on the TV without checking with other inmates and asking permission. Somebody took a pen and they stabbed him to death. They killed this guy. I just met him. They stabbed him in the neck. And then they came around asking everybody questions like, well, I just met him. I don't know. But stuff happens in these institutions. And she's going in there just before the holidays. This is a big deal. People get really weird at the holiday time. They miss their family. They just miss it all. They miss their kids. I think she's got a couple kids. Yeah, she does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So imagine the inmate population. Everybody's on pins and needles. And nobody's going to want to hear her BS. And this is unofficial. I have seen this all over the country. Around the holiday times, the staff, not the inmates, the staff will institute unofficially problems. They'll create conflicts and fights and just stuff between the inmates because now they can go on unlimited overtime because there's already shortages. And then they'll have extra money for their holiday gifts. Isn't that nuts? Just the things that I have seen, I could write a book.
I can imagine. I mean, that's crazy. But we see it directly here. Some of our counties, they're shutting down daytime patrols in Tehama County, just south of us, because of excessive staff shortages in that sheriff's office. So,
they have in the BOP. That's the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Everybody, remember, they go to training for 21 days for what it's worth. But everybody is considered a correctional officer. They all have custody experience. So because of shortages, you've got people that are secretaries, people that are maintenance supervisors, the chaplain, he's a correctional officer too. People working from food service, they're teachers, people from education. They're all working the custody in the housing units because they're trying to make up for the shortages. Let's face it. I don't know where you're at. I know Victorville's halfway roughly between LA and Vegas. You're out in the middle of the desert. Who would want to live out there and who would want to do that job? Doesn't really pay well. They say, I think it was Mark Twain that said, if you want to see the dregs of society, go to any prison at shift change time. And that's what you'll see, But then again, what the hell do I know?
I think you know a lot, and I mean that's compelling stuff, and I appreciate you breaking down her day-to-day schedule. So I think and you've talked about this a bit here. Nobody wants to hear her BS. Locally, the concern that a lot of people are going to have finding out that she's in a low security facility.
No. Minimum security.
Minimum security facility. She staged a kidnapping hoax for 22 days. She's willing to tear apart her whole life for what amounted to an affair. So what do you have to say to those folks that are concerned that security isn't
the BOP? Okay, let's jump back to our friends in the BOP. The designation center is in a place called Grand Prairie, Texas. They're going to look at her criminal history. They're going to look at her crime. If she kidnapped somebody else, it would be a different deal. But she kidnapped herself or staged a kidnapping. All right. She has no criminal history. She's not really a flight risk because she has ties to the community. She has no outstanding charges. She has no public safety factors. And that's what they're using the basis to put her there. They're not going to throw her behind a fence because her custody or her sentence and her criminal history doesn't justify it. So I don't want to say that she's going to a country club, but she's not going to a hard place. She's going to really, I mean, sitting around. Here's what I tell people that, all right, well, you're going to sit around for the next year, sipping cappuccino, trading lies with your new friends, and BSing and bagging on the cops. And it's not that hard. As long as where you're supposed to be and you don't miss a count, you're going to be just fine. But I could just tell, because she's kind of emotional, this chick is going to be crying. She's going to be a crybaby, that it's not fair. You know what? Nobody wants to hear it. I've seen crybabies get the crap slapped out of them. I have, because I've done more time on the toilet while I was in custody than the entire amount of time she's going to serve. And I worked my way down from high to medium to low to minimum. She's starting at minimum. What does she really have to complain about? But I bet you she'll be in trouble. Somewhere along the line, she's going to get into a beef. She's going to get into trouble. And it is what it is. And at that point, when we find out what it is, I'll come on again. We can talk about that. If you get in trouble, they give you what's called a shot. I don't know why it's called a shot. It's not one in the arm. They give you a shot. It's like you're getting an incident report. It's like getting a ticket. A cop pulls you over. So they give you this incident report, and then you go to what's called a DHO, Disciplinary Hearing Officer, or a UDC, Unit Disciplinary Committee. And as a sanction, they can pull your visits. They can pull your telephone calls. They can put you in a real lousy job. I mean, there's all kinds of, they can kill your community custody. Let's say she gets caught with a cell phone, okay? And it's not even her phone, because what they'll do if they find the phone, they'll check all the numbers that were called on that telephone against the pre-programmed phone list for the inmate calls to go, aha, she's been using an unauthorized telephone. Well, she could kiss some of that extra good time goodbye, First Step Act, community custody. So she really, I don't want to say she should be on pins and needles, but she needs to be aware of where she is at and what the policies are, what the laws are. She doesn't need to kid herself. There's no fences, there's no bars, they don't lock the doors, but she's still in custody. She's still in prison. And there you go.
Well, Larry, I really appreciate it. Anything else you'd like folks to know, about this particular situation? I think you've really broken it down detail by detail. There's so much I've learned from this personally, but I think a lot of people in our community want to see justice. And do you feel that?
Well, I mean, do I really feel it's been done? What did it cost the taxpayer? Heartache to her family. I don't know. Was the FBI? It wasn't. I don't understand why it's a federal crime. Maybe because she sent like a ransom note through the mail or something. She lied to the investigators, the FBI. Why was the FBI even involved? I don't know. But the point is that I think that she should be held accountable. Now, when she gets out of physical custody, all right, the way it works is you've got the legislative branch, Congress. They make the laws. They create these statutes. You have the executive branch. That's the president, the FBI, the Justice Department. They enforce the laws. Then you have the judicial branch, the court. They're the ones that sentence you, and they determine whether or not the executive branch is constitutionally carrying out the laws, excuse me, that the legislative branch has passed. So when she gets out of custody, physical custody, she's got supervised release for 3 years. And that's under the jurisdiction of the judicial branch. So she's going to have to do a monthly report. They're going to check her job. I assure you, I haven't read her judgment and commitment order. I could pull it later if I had to. But I can assure you that she's going to spend a lot of time with the shrink. She will. And they're going to run her through that, and she'll be under the microscope for a long time. I mean, maybe she'll adapt. I had a prison psychiatrist, this is kind of funny, say that I treated the federal prison system like it was my own personal adult amusement park. And I was just having too good of a time in there. But I felt that my time was worthwhile because I was helping people. Maybe if she makes herself useful, maybe people won't be as angry. Maybe when she gets out, she'll return to society. I mean, the BOP's own mission statement says they will house you in a safe, sane, secure, humane environment so you can return to society as a productive, law-abiding citizen. Maybe she will. If I were her, I would show a lot of remorse, show a lot of respect. And I don't want to say what she did wasn't that bad, but these are the laws that Congress passed. You commit this crime, there's the sentencing guidelines. All right, this is how much time we're going to give you. They got this complicated matrix, which you won't understand. I could explain it if I had to. She's right there in the guidelines. I think I read that the judge or not the judge, the prosecutor only wanted to give her 90 days or something.
Yeah, I believe it was 90 days or 8 months, something shorter than what she ended up actually getting.
Okay. She pled guilty. She didn't go to trial. She signed a plea agreement. She'd have been stupid to go to trial. Well, that plea agreement is between the inmate / defendant and the Justice Department, the executive branch of government. That plea agreement isn't binding on the judicial branch. And that's why she got the 18 months, because the judge essentially could give her any sentence that he wants within the guidelines. So she got her guideline level. It is what it is. Now, let's say she gets out and she's on supervised release for 36 months. I could probably get her off early, get her off supervised release in 18 months, although I wouldn't, because I don't approve of her crime. I didn't approve of Bernie Madoff's crime either. I wouldn't help him. He may not even remember who he was. But if she screws up, they'll pull her back in and they can resentence her. And they could give her the full 36 months and then put her on supervised release again. So while she may get out in 9 months, they still have a hold on her and they can control her life. I mean, she's gone to Victorville. Where did she live? Where was her house?
In Redding.
Redding. Okay. She's up in Northern Cal. I believe that's the Northern District of California. Mm-hmm. She's going to be stuck in the Northern District for 3 years. She can't travel outside the district without permission. It's kind of like I'm here in the Central District of California. And my case was out of here. I live here. I live halfway between LA and Santa Barbara. You got LA County, Orange County, Riverside, San Bernardino counties, Ventura County, where I'm at, San Luis Obispo County, and Santa Barbara County. This is my district where I'm at. I'm off supervised release. I got out a substantial time ago. I could travel anywhere here I want. But when I wanted to go to Vegas, which they let me go, I had to get a travel pass. You have to get permission to go. And then when I went to Vegas, because I mean, I had, like I think I told you my crimes, did I?
Yeah, when we were on the phone.
I had to get fingerprinted because my stuff was organized crime, because I was going to Vegas. Every time I go there, I'm really supposed to go and report in, but I always stay at the same hotel. So I go, well, my address didn't change. She may have to check in herself. I don't know where kidnapping fits there in the guidelines, but based on her crime, she may have, I don't know, maybe she does have a public safety factor. Is she unstable? Well, would a stable person do this? No. It's ironic. If you look at somebody, I don't know, Jeffrey Dahmer, he seems to be popular right now because of that documentary. They defend people based on, they say, well, they were temporarily insane. And everybody goes, no, they're not. They're lying. They weren't temporarily insane. Well, gee, think about it. If they were sane and they weren't insane, would they have committed the crimes they did? Of course they were insane. Of course they were cuckoo. You know, people that play with children, same thing. Public safety factor. We call them chomos. You know that word?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Chomo, child molester. Okay, they're the most child molesters and snitches, most hated people in the prison. I get these chomos call me and they need help. Why they're out on bond, I have no idea. They leave them out on bond, but then when they send them into custody, remember I broke down the different kinds of prisons? They send them to an FCI. They're behind the fence. But they'll call me and I'll listen to these dumbasses cry. And they moan. I mean, I'm sick of them. So what I will do is I will tell them, I'll ask them, are you religious? And, some of them say yes. I'll go, that's great. Because my free advice to you is you need to pray to God because you're going to get beat up every single day. It's not true. They're really not going to get beat up. That's my way of scaring them when they go in. That's my way of giving back to the community. Scaring the hell out. I had several years ago, some guy, I scared him so much, he committed suicide about a week later.
Wow.
Hey, look at the money I saved the taxpayers, huh?
There you go.
It is what it is. So there you go.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Larry. I really appreciate your time and your insight, not only from your own experience, but everybody else that you've worked with over the years. And this is super insightful. I think a lot of people, their initial reaction, minimum security, that's going to be a visceral, hey, what'd she do to our community? But I think there's a lot more to it, as you explained, and that's really helpful to know.